evening, Culinary 142. Hi, my name is Arien and tonight I am going to be preparing a very delicious meal. So I'm basically going to teach you how to cook a meal that I have thought of. Now, a lot of times I get my meals from passed down recipes, especially because my father loved to cook. Sadly, he's no longer with us, but he did teach me a lot. I also use cookbooks that I've always had or that I'm interested in. Lately, and in the last couple years, Pinterest, which is almost a lot of people's obsession, has become my domain for new ideas. So let's talk about the basics. Food science. Now I know what you're thinking. Arien, food is not a science. Well, yeah, it is. We cook, we bake, for those of us who love to cook and bake. You have chefs who go to culinary school. Either way, food is a science. Food grows all over our planet. It's been around for thousands and millions of years in some form or fashion, whether it be animal, plant, grain, seed, doesn't matter. So with that being said, food has 4 basic molecules: carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and water. Again, I know what you're thinking. Carbs, I can't stand carbs. I'm trying to lose weight. I don't like carbs. Believe it or not, carbs can be bad, but carbs can be good. So in order to keep this video as short as possible and not bore you to death, I've kind of summarized a few things, so don't mind me as I look at my notes. I want to be honest about this because I tend to like to talk a lot, and I'm trying to keep this in my time restraints for our cooking show today. So let's just go over carbs, which are made up of chains of sugars. Uh-oh, there's another word. You're like, sugar? I mean, I love sugar, but again, that could be the death of me. I'm diabetic, whatever. But that's what carbs are. They're chains of sugar molecules. Proteins, they actually change due to the elements. It could be air, salt, water, heat. They change proteins. And meat is a protein. So when we cook meat, like we're gonna cook tonight, they change. They shrink in size, they change color, they get flavor. But how do they get flavor? A plain piece of pork here or chicken or meat can be plain, so we add flavors to give them more of a flavor. We use different methods to give them that flavor. So that's basically what proteins do. Then we have our fats. Our fats, our main one, is butter. Butter's a good fat. I'm actually going to use butter in my vegetable tonight. And butter kind of gives a flavor of sweetness. Butter also, besides providing play, it smooths the food out that you're using butter with. It gives it that kind of silk smooth texture. It tenderizes it, so it makes it nice and softer. And then we have water. I'm made of water, you're made of water, our meat has water, our veggies are using water, everything has water. Water is the biggest basic molecule of life. It's also the simplest molecule. So these are basically all of our molecules that are good. And carbs, again, can be cooked off in heat and reduced, and again, they become good for you. So those are just some of our proteins. Now, when we do cook things and we use heat and we brown our meat, it takes on a molecular change. And that molecular change is actually called the Maillard reaction. So, and you're sitting here going, wow, food really is a science. You know what? I'm sitting here taking this class, learning to expand my cooking and baking repertoire, and I'm sitting here going, why is this stuck under a science? Believe it or not, it is a science. I can't stand chemistry. It is like the worst thing. It's like my kryptonite, my Achilles heel. And what does food science have in it? Chemistry. But the fun thing is I've enjoyed it. So I'm hoping passing this along to you out in the interwebs world and the universe totally goes from there. And my husband just laughed at me because I used the word interwebs, but thank you, dear. Hope you guys get a laugh out of that. It's a good old interwebs, but I hope you guys learned something tonight. So beyond that, we will talk about the fact that the Maillard reaction has to do with amino acids, and the amino acids and carbs burning off in heat. Well, how does that happen? Well, this right here is a stove and an oven. Some people have separate stoves, some people have double ovens. Depends what you have in your kitchen. If you can tell, I rent, so sadly my kitchen is super small. One day when we own our home, I would love a huge kitchen because I do love to cook and I do love to bake. And I would love to do it so much all the time that I have plenty of space. This kitchen is just not functional like I would love it to be, but I make it work for what I'm doing. So this is a stove, and you have convection, oven, conduction, the stove. You have radiation, or the microwave, or infrared radiation, like broiling and grilling. And these are some of the 3 basic scientific tools of cooking. Our stove uses conduction. So right now, tonight is my vegetable. I am cooking carrots. So if you could see there without dumping it out, we've got carrots. Now I've had these carrots because carrots can take about 30 minutes to cook or less, depending on what you want to do with it. So I start out by chopping down my carrots. I put them in and I put water that literally sits just right below. Now the carrots are sitting in a stainless steel pan. Stainless steel, tin, aluminum, copper, which is very expensive, even cast iron, all produce what is called conduction, meaning they conduct the heat. So this is sitting on a burner and that heat is heating these carrots and it's conducting heat because of the stainless steel pan. So with that conduction, I started out with medium-high heat and I let the water get to its temperature of 120 degrees and it started to boil. When it became a rolling boil, meaning a fast boil, I turned it down and simmered it a little at about a 5 on the stove. So it kept boiling a little to keep making the carrots soft. I also added salt to the water for that purpose, again, to help the carrots along. I added a little bit of pepper. And now I've got it down to a simmer, to about a 2 or 3. And the reason I did that, and if you saw on the video, the water is basically being heated or sucked out of this pan. And I'm doing that for a reason, because this is where I'm going to end up adding my fat. So if we give it about another 4 or 5 minutes, I'm going to leave whatever water's left in it, and I'm going to add the butter. And then we're going to let that butter tenderize and smooth. Carrots have beta carotene. They also have vitamin A, both which are really good for you. Don't believe that old wives' tale that they help your eyesight. Sorry, boys and girls, hate to break it to you, but they don't. But carrots are good for vitamin A. They're a good source of beta carotene. They have this rich orange bright color on them. And so that butter is going to help continue to tenderize them and soften them up. And that's what we're doing with conduction. For my starch, because I'm doing a starch tonight, things like pasta and rice can be a starch. And even potatoes can be a starch. Arien, what do you mean potatoes are a starch? Potatoes actually have starch in them, making them a starch. Potatoes are a tuber, but they grow on a stem. So if you ever see a potato plant, it's a stem. And they're called tubers. And I actually have going my oven at 400 degrees, and ovens are convection. So basically you take a dish and you put it in there and it starts out cold or cool, and then that temperature heats up surrounding the food and it heats it up from all sides. So I took a Pyrex dish, a 9x13 Pyrex dish. I took extra virgin olive oil, which olive oil can also be used as an emulsifier or a thickener. So an emulsifier, if you put 2 liquids together, they maintain their consistency, their shape, even though they've come together, just like oil and vinegar or oil and water. So I used EVOO, 2 tablespoons, and I poured it throughout my pan, and then I swished my little Pyrex dish around to coat the pan. Then I did a mixture of garlic powder, sea salt, paprika, and oregano. I took those and I put them in a nice little dish. And then I took a 1/2 cup of grated Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. You don't want to get shredded Parmesan cheese. You could go buy the stuff in the green can that you use in your spaghetti, but this is fresh Parmigiano Reggiano. You can find this in like your cheese freezer section where the meats are. So Parmigiano Reggiano. I took this, I blended and mixed it up all together to give it this nice dark consistency. I also added some black pepper. And then I took red potatoes, baby red potatoes, washed them, scrubbed them, cut them in half, and I went ahead and I sprinkled the Parmesan on top of the oil. After doing that, I set the potatoes down on top of it. I put it in the oven for 30 minutes. You can do it 30 to 40 minutes and let the convection part of the oven work. This time we had 30 minutes, so we've got 5 seconds left. I'm gonna check on them real quick. So I'm gonna turn off my timer. Usually I do my timers to help me because every oven is different and everybody has a different timer. You can have a little portable timer, you can have a timer on your phone, a timer on your watch. I happen to have a timer on my oven. I also have an oven light. So I'm looking down here and I'm gonna go ahead and open that. And they're crisped up and they're nice and cooking. And let me see, oh there it is. I'm gonna lean over, I'm gonna grab this because ovens are hot. And what I'm gonna do to check to see if it needs another 5 to 10 minutes is punch that. So I'm going to give it another 5 minutes because these should be fork tender and it's not quite there yet. Again, every oven is different, so always check it. You can always start at the lowest time and work your way up, or you could just go in the middle at the 35-minute mark and let it work that way. So we're going to give it another 5 minutes. We're checking on my carrots again. We're just about down, so now I'm going to add some butter. So I use just good old country crock butter. You can use margarine, you can use whatever you feel like. It's depending what I have on hand at the time. I'm going to take a good heaping spoonful. I'm going to go ahead and put it in there. We'll go ahead and put that back. I'm going to mix that butter in there. And again, that butter is going to merge with that sweetness. It's going to give it a nice, good, sweet but hearty flavor. My dad taught me how to do this, again, one of his wisdoms. He also thought it helps, again, tenderize and soften up the carrots faster. And they've already been going for almost 30 minutes themselves and they're pretty fork tender. So we're going to let this settle down and we're going to finish letting the water cook off. I'm going to go ahead and take my pure ground black pepper. I'm going to finally add some pepper. Now, I'm a mom of 5 kids. You probably can hear them in the background. Their ages range from 10 all the way down to 2. And so I have my oldest who complains that pepper is hot. So I try not to add.
Not.
Thank you. That was Ashton, by the way. And so I tend to put this in here. So we're going to sprinkle them with pepper. Kind of giving an extra stir. So that pepper is kind of all over them. And there we go. So I don't add a gob of pepper because, again, my kids can complain they're hot. So again, convection with the oven, conduction with the stovetop pan, Pyrex, porcelain, they're all good for conducting from a cool temperature and heating up and retaining that heat. So that's a great thing about Pyrex. Even though it's done in the oven, it retains its heat. Porcelain, if you have a crock pot, crock pots have porcelain dishes, again, they hold their heat well, which is why foods at warmer cooking can do so well retaining heat because of the porcelain. Microwave we're not using tonight, but it's a form of radiation. And just to kind of go over that, radiation, well, that's, it's a source of heat on its own. For instance, a broiler will heat from above. A grill will heat from below. And we are actually going to be using the grill tonight because we do love to grill in this family. And again, with my small kitchen use, I try not to heat up my house a lot. So we're going to grill. We're going to grill pork chops. Now your meats are red meats from cows. They move very slow, so they don't move very often. So that's why their meats are so nice and red and fibrous. Pork and chicken, on the other hand, and yes, we're talking pork, they are animals, pigs and chickens, that use their muscles a lot. And because they use it a lot and they burn a lot of their fibrous energy, there's a reason why chicken is white. But Arien, pork it's pink in its own color. Yes, but it's a pale color. It's a pale pink. And if you ever cook pork, whether it be a crock pot, baking, grill, it turns out white. It turns pale. And that's what pork does. And that's, again, having to do with those red fibers. It lowers them. They're a lean meat. They have good flavor. They have collagen in them. Just like, you know, if you're getting Botox and getting collagen put in you, you know. So we're gonna grill pork chops. I have 8 pork chops. We're a family of 7. The pork chops are gonna squeeze down, and sometimes my kids don't fully eat a full pork chop, or they end up changing their mind on dinner. But they usually like this recipe. So we'll go from there. Now, before I stick them on the grill, I'm gonna grill pork on medium-high heat. That's between 350 and 400 degrees on the grill. And what that does is it gives them a nice, good cook through. We have our thermometer here. You may not have a thermometer, but you could be the judge. You can take it off the grill, kind of cut into it, see if it's white in the middle, or if you like it a little bit of a light pink, however you like your meats cooked. But usually we'll take an internal thermometer. We're gonna end up sticking it in the meat, and we're gonna look for a temperature of at least 165 on our meat. But typically I grill my pork for 5 minutes on each side. Technically it calls at medium-high heat 4.5 minutes for pork. But here's the reason why we go a little longer, because in that last minute I'm gonna start basting for flavor, for that extra flavor, and for that flavor to soak through, not only on the top, believe it or not, it's gonna kind of soak in a little in the middle, which is why I put it in for that extra minute on both sides. And we're gonna baste them. And I'm gonna baste them making a sauce. Sauces, oh look, our timer went off again. So let's check on our potatoes one more time. Hot oven. Marin, please go. That's one of my youngest. And now we've got a little bit of a fork tender potato. Oh yeah. So actually I'm going to take these out. And I made a Parmesan crusted potato, so because of that Parmesan, I'm going to set it back here. And we're going to let these potatoes rest for another 5 minutes. That continues to allow them to cook, to allow the oil and the Parmesan to crust around them, so they have a nice juicy, you know, a nice crust on them, and they continue to soften up a little bit more. Our carrots are very done now. They're pretty soft themselves. That butter is just soaking in to give it flavor. So I'm going to turn it down to low now and just let them stay heated and simmer. So back to the pork chops. Sauces. Sauces can be made basically with milk or a roux, like bouillon, to thicken your products up. You can do it on your stove for convection. You can make sauces to pour under them. Sauces like marinades, which use soy sauce or maybe Worcestershire sauce or any other type of thickening agent to give it flavor. Sorry, I have him talking to me in the background. So basically, we are going to make a nice sauce here. I make this sauce quite a lot. I love honey. Honey's a good thickener. This is a particular honey I got at the Renaissance Festival. Pip pip cheerio, who doesn't love to go back in time at the Renaissance? Please excuse me for our real life video here. Children, could you please give mommy and daddy some time? Thank you.
That means be quiet.
That means please go back upstairs. So thank you. So this is a Cloven Hive California wildflower honey. I love California wildflower. It has a great sweet taste to it. It reminds me of honey. I grew up and around Texas. Honey is gathered from flowers, which are also plants. The pollen and the nectar are gathered by bees. They make the hives. You've got the honey. I'm using a nice Dijon mustard. I love Dijon mustard. It's got that spicy taste. We're going to add a little bit of pepper. I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of Dijon. I'm going to do 4 tablespoons of honey. We're going to mix it up in this, and we're going to add some pepper, and then we're going to go put them on. So let's go quickly get these on the grill, and we'll get a timer started on that. I'm going to need the big grill fork. Tongs. Thank you, dear. Right, so yes, we're out in the dark. I know it's pretty late. I'm a busy mom, got a lot to do, and we had doctor's appointments today. So we're gonna put our pork chops on the grill. I kind of like to grill them at an angle over the burners. Now this grill has 4 burners, and they're all turned down to a medium-high heat. will be turned up to medium-high heat. We just had this warming and ready to go. I'm gonna get these pork chops on here, put my little ones up toward the front, maybe one in the middle. Just depends, sometimes depending how much you want to cook. The sauce is enough to baste 8 pork chops, or at the least amount 6. So we're gonna work on them. We're gonna let them go on each side again for 4 minutes. Then we're gonna flip them over and let them go for another 4 minutes. Then I'm gonna start basting them with my little basting sauce, my marinade, to give them that flavor, and let them go for 1 more minute. And then we're gonna flip them back over, baste the other side, and do the same. We're gonna go ahead and cover the grill so we can let that heat get to them. And we will go from there. And once we have that done, and let me get my timer going here, because that's important. So, timer. Okay, so we've got it counting down 4 minutes. So let's go back inside for a moment. And we're gonna have that going. So again, pardon me, I love to talk. But, like is said in the movie, and we're gonna go ahead and turn off the oven, because that's important. When you're done dirtying your dishes, you can put them in your sink. Try to get them washed if you have some free time. It clears space. We'll go ahead and turn that off. Check on my carrots one more time. We're gonna leave it on low. Now, if you want to come over here and look at these potatoes, they have now rested for enough time. Again, sorry about the kids. They've now rested to the point that they've got that nice crust on them. So we'll be able to plate those and serve them up. So I'm gonna grab a plate. Excuse me, boys and girls, upstairs, thank you. I use out of my pantry what I call the fine china. It makes for less to clean up, especially when making a big meal. Now, just another thing to know about potatoes. Potatoes are a good source of B6, vitamin B6, vitamin C. They are a starch, but because of that, they have complex carbs in them. And those complex carbs, believe it or not, are not bad for you, but they do fuel your brain and your muscles. So that's actually a good benefit about them, besides the vitamin C and the B6. So we washed quite a bit of dishes today. Well, there went one fork. I'm gonna grab one of my potatoes.
Cheers.
We have a nice crust on it. If you want to see. So, sorry, he's trying to deal with the children, my cameraman. So there's a nice Parmesan crusted potato. Now, the potatoes are good with the skins on. You can eat them with the skins. You can eat them without the skins. Again, it's all about that muscle fiber, the brain fibers, those complex carbs. So those are that. Then we have some carrots. These carrots are nice and soft, so we're going to plate a little bit of carrots here. And they're really, really delicious. I'm going to put those on a cooler burner. They'll stay warm, and if I have to, I can put it back on the heated burner. Excuse me. And we'll go from there. So we have 1 minute and 20 seconds left on the first side of the grill before I go out and I flip them over. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and start getting this ready. So this Dijon is brand new, so I haven't opened it yet. We're going to open that real quick. Well, we got 1 minute left. In the meantime, I may have my husband go out and turn those real fast for me. Thank you, cameraman. So again, I enjoy cooking. Like in the movie Ratatouille, everyone can cook. Doesn't matter how bad or good you are, whatever you cook, whatever you do, you can do it. All you gotta do is try. It may take you a couple times, you may get it right the first time. Hey, you may be a prize-winning chef and you may definitely be better than me. So, again, for the Dijon mustard, it calls for 2 tablespoons. This is why I like this pour spout. So we're gonna fill it up. So yeah, just about. Like to give it all that I can. So as you can see, I just put that in. Now we're gonna go with our honey. All right, so that's the first side done, and he's gone outside to turn them. And then we will start at another 4 minutes so they can cook on the other side. And then we're going to baste them. And then we'll check the internal temperature as well. Then after that, we'll come back and plate that, and that'll be the end. So I just want to say thank you. Hope you had some fun advice. I hope you liked learning from me. Hope you liked learning about the chaos that comes with being a mom of 5 kids, believe it or not. And besides learning about our wonderful marinator sauce, I hope you've learned some new tips for cooking, learned some science of cooking, and learned about a really cool meal. These are my honey glazed grilled pork chops, or honey Dijon glazed grilled pork chops, excuse me. And I like those a lot. So I don't want to mix the Dijon in here, so I'm going to go ahead. Now, the only reason why I'm using this honey, not only because I like the flavor of it, this is a natural raw honey. You can use store-bought honey, but I prefer my natural raw honey. Natural raw honey is good for a lot of things. And it's good if you get sick, for sure. So we're going to get that in there. That's 1. We got 3 more to go. So believe me, I can order some more of this online and order some more. You can get local raw honey if you live in Arizona, or from wherever you're at. You can look at a health food store. You can look for local raw honey, but it has to be pure raw honey, because that's where you get all your delicious bee-kept health benefits. All right, there's 2. We've got 2 more to go. And honey is very sticky, although tasty and sweet, depending on the types of raw honeys. Some raw honeys are not as sweet. They have a little bit more of a powerful taste is what I like to call it, a more earthy taste. And 1 more. So again, that honey and Dijon, give it its thickness. Don't mind if I try. Delicious. If I had my own California wildflower hive, that'd be great. And yes, you can eat the hives too, because they still got honey in them. So I'm just rinsing this off. Otherwise, I'd probably try to use my finger or another spoon. But I think we're good enough. How are we doing, cameraman? Are they turned? Do I need to put it on another 4 minutes real quick?
Yes, they're turned.
Okay, they are all turned, all 8 of them. Looking nice. They're starting to brown up. Again, that's the Maillard reaction. And the amino acids and carbs, the chains in them, they're all breaking apart due to the heat. Therefore, they're browning, the Maillard reaction. So we started at 4 minutes. In the meantime, we're going to finish this out. So again, 4 tablespoons of honey. That was my tablespoon measurement. 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. And then pure ground pepper again. I'm going to kind of sprinkle a little bit in there. That gives it a little bit of a kick. And then I'm going to take a spoon, a different spoon, since I enjoyed the honey off the 1 spoon. So I'm going to take a smaller spoon, just enough to mix it, and we're going to mix it. So if you watch, I'm mixing this. Gonna give that honey and Dijon and glaze. So it keeps it a very thicker sauce, but also enough to make it nice and basty. So it's thick, a thick saucy like marinade or basting tool, but still good enough to use and taste. So sometimes I like to make sure everything has turned out and mixed well. And again, I like to get off as much as I can, but because of the honey, I do like to taste test my stuff. Perfection. It's got the right amount of sweet from the raw honey. Again, a California wildflower gets pretty sweet. It's got the nice spicy kick of the Dijon and a little bit of peppery taste too. And that's what makes it good. So we have our thermometer and we have about 2.5 minutes to go. You can use a basting brush. I have a small one. Some grill kits come with big ones. And this is what we're going to use to baste our pork chops. So we're gonna go ahead, now that you've seen the potato and the carrots and you've seen all the different spices used and you've learned about the food science, we're gonna go ahead and baste. Just to finish up the video, thank you again for watching the video. We had to stop because we had a grill malfunction. We just replaced a regulator on our grill. Apparently this will tell you not where to buy a universal regulator. Don't go someplace where you can get it cheap, because our grill did not heat up properly. So they only seared and didn't get very good. So we had to finish on a griddle. But the pork chucks came up done. Here they are with the glaze on them. Gives you a nice glazed color. And they're gonna have a good flavor, a good color when you cut into them. They're very easy to cut, but I just wanted to show you the inside. So I hope you've learned something. I hope you enjoyed the meal. I hope you want to try this on a grill or whatever. We're working on finishing them on our griddle. Not the best thing to do, but life happens, and it always happens at the wrong time. Really tender, moisture, especially because of the sauce, a nice honey Dijon flavor. Thank you for